Okay. I will share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Good. Hello, Stacy.
Although my coworkers aren't very quiet this morning, so
Okay. I'm not able to see the. I have not two screens today, so I need to. Let me just check how I can fix. Okay. Hello, Antonio, George. Good afternoon. I am trying to figure it out how I can share. Okay. Let's see now if I can. Okay. You see my screen now, I guess. Okay. So let's start today. There are no new companies, just the antitrust compliance policy to see. Sorry, because for any reason I cannot get back to the. Hello, Antonio. Sorry for that. Let's see if now I'm able. Okay, I may leave that not in a presentation mode, as if I need to get back to the Google to admit someone. Okay. So today what I wanted is to cover more or less what has been done during this first half of the year, what is the fishery status, to review especially in West Africa and Mexico, and also focusing today on the human rights assessments and the next steps. If you have been participating in the human rights due diligence training that we have hosted during May, you may have some idea of what is needed. If you has not been able to participate in this training, all the sessions are recorded, so I will share within the notes the link to all the recordings in Spanish and English. The idea this year, just to recap a bit, was to introduce the human rights dimension and the social aspects into the SR work plan. We, as you all know, SFP in its mission and vision is focusing in environmental issues, but more and more we know that environmental issues are also linked to human rights risks, and we cannot ignore these questions and these issues. And for that, we have decided, at least in the SRs that I'm managing, maybe you are working with other colleagues from SFP that are leading other supply chain roundtables that are not addressing this in that moment, but especially for squid and octopus, it represents a risk. So this is the reason why I decided to include, and I proposed last year to include that in the work plans of 2024. Obviously, I don't have the expertise, and within SFP, there are some people that has some knowledge and expertise in social issues, but we believe that the best thing is partnering or coordinating this work with experts. Say that there are two major work streams now within the SR is how individually we can support you all. So what are your responsibilities as individual businesses and companies, and how we can support you in this journey. And additionally, how as a group we can try to identify collective actions that can support and can generate better impacts. No, so for the first part of this work, for the individual responsibilities, and especially for companies that are in Europe or are linked to European companies with this new directive on due diligence that is coming, we have tried to provide and deliver all the information through this training. So you will have a copy of the trainings, links and everything, and some materials. Everything is in a folder. Secondly, and with the same consultants, we will try to work to see how these collective actions can be taken. We, at the beginning of the year, I approached Partners Africa, an NGO based in Netherlands and Africa, with expertise in Mauritania and Senegal, through a recent human risk impact assessment that was conducted in the last 3 years. The proposal that they've made had a really expensive cost, but all the human rights impact assessments that implies field visits and surveys and all this work are not cheap in general. And so as a group, it can be easier to afford these costs. But following on the discussion in Boston, I've tried to get other quotations and other budgets. So today I have 3 proposals that we can decide. There are more or less the results and the outcomes that we expect are similar. You will see very different budgets, but more or less we believe that the 3 of them could cover the same work. So before jumping into these human rights assessments, I will go in a review of the fisheries status of these fisheries. I don't know if any of you has any question. Please just open your mic and talk if you want, because I'm not able to manage. I don't have 2 screens today, so it's very hard for me to manage the call and the presentation. Okay, you can interrupt me wherever you want. Okay, if you remember, we had 4 pillars defined in our strategy and with some generic objectives and goals for the year. The first is the traditional work that we have been doing with the SR, especially in Mauritania, Morocco, and Mexico, including Senegal now. For the last year, we have included Senegal, and we are trying to see how to initiate efforts there. So this is what was proposed at the beginning of the year, and this is where we are. In Mauritania, the FIP has been submitted for revision end of May. This is not public in the Fishery Progress website, but the reality is that Fishery Progress and Fish Choice is in maintenance of the website, so they have delayed all the updates of the current FIPs of 1 month. So I've been asking. I also asked one of my colleagues within SFP about the deadline or the timeline when the FIP could be active in Fishery Progress. So basically, they have not responded, and we don't know. But I expect that by the end of July, it should be public, because we have the coordinator, the FIP coordinator, the consultant in Mauritania, has uploaded all the documentation required. He has only requested an extension for the social analysis, because we were able to justify that the SR can also do some human rights impact assessment, and they are reviewing the first results from the small scale, from the small pelagics project that was conducted in Mauritania, and where there is some overlap. But this is a parallel work stream, so for the activation of the FIP, this should be enough. So within this time, the decree that was presented in Barcelona and that I announced has been signed by all the parties. There has been presidential elections in Mauritania this weekend, but the FIP will remain introduced in this national strategy. So I had a call yesterday with the coordinator, especially to ask about if these elections could impact in the FIP, and apparently not, but obviously everything is going to be delayed. It's Muharram month this month in July. Muharram is the first month of the Islamic calendar, so it's like New Year's. Muslim New Year's is next Friday. So taking in account all of this, The next meeting has not been still, the next meeting in Mauritania has not been defined yet. So I'm in conversations with the coordinator to at least them to start having some technical coordination meetings with IMROP to start implementing the work plan with this fishing season. And hopefully for the next fishing season, for the winter fishing season, the FIP is going to be fully active and implementing all this work. For Morocco, we have updated the fishers profile. There is still a big lack of transparency that difficult a lot obtaining official information. I've been in Morocco in May. I was invited to participate in a conference hosted by FENIP. FENIP is the National Federation for Industries, for fisheries industries. So I had a conversation with them expressing the concerns that we had about the lack of transparency, the lack of access to the information. So we have agreed that they will collaborate. They will try to push ENRH. So there is now not only in the hands of FENIP, but there is interest from the industry in Morocco to improve the situation. So we will see what we can achieve by the end of the year. We know that there is IUU fishing happening as well as in Mauritania, in Senegal. But if in the past in Morocco it was quantified, it was better mapped. At this time, all the informations are really hidden, and we don't have official statistics being published since 2019. So we are trying to push for this information. To be really honest, and I have discussed separately with many of you that has been asking, especially because there is a FIP in Mauritania. I don't see now in the short term an opportunity to launch a FIP in Morocco because, sorry, one second, because I believe someone is trying to access to the meeting. No? Okay.
Hey, Carmen, are we all... There we go. See your slides. Thank you.
Yeah. So, yes, I don't see now in the short term the possibility of launching a FIP, especially in the main fishing region of Morocco, in the south, in Dakhla, because all these problems, governance problems and lack of transparency in the country. I've seen really big challenges between ENRH, industry and government, but our willingness and my will is trying to see how to find opportunities to start connecting with them. So the first one was this conference. I've seen industry, national industry, especially interested in going ahead with some improvement efforts, but we'll see. And in Senegal, we are awaiting, and this has been more or less approved, so we may start in September, between September and December, this new UNDP project in the country, the Global Marine Commodities 2. So there are now focal points in Senegal from UNDP, and there will be a field team probably in Senegal. So we are starting the conversations. We started last year. So one of the SFP consultants initiated some work there. We had the support from several companies, among others, Grupo Profan, who has a subsidiary in the country, in a fund, and Grupo Profan has been supporting and has connected us with some good stakeholders. So we are moving forward in Senegal very, very slowly, but we believe that we are cultivating good stakeholders and cultivating good relationships to initiate improvements. Maybe it is not translated directly into a comprehensive FIP because the situation of the fishery is really different from the situation of Mauritania or Morocco. So there is lack of governance in Senegal, and we need to understand better the status of the fishery, trying to map where is the IUU happening in the main regions. But it doesn't mean that all the improvement efforts has to be translated into an MSC work plan. You know, I know that many of your customers and clients are willing for that, but we also see industry and final buyers, retailers changing their minds a bit because the FIP model or the MSC certification is just another model, an improvement model that may not fit in the reality of all the fisheries. So we are trying to be as much as better focused on the major problems of these fisheries to initiate improvements. In Yucatan, in Mexico, there are 2 FIPs ongoing. Both of them are targeting Octopus Maya, and the FIP that was initiated 5 years ago, that is in transition to MSc program, is also targeting Octopus americanus or Octopus vulgaris. There has been a recent workshop organized by COBI, the NGO that is coordinating the FIP, to put together all the stakeholders, including national authorities and regional authorities and state authorities, to incentivize the effective compliance and enforcement of the octopus management rules. There is IUU happening in the region. Maybe instead of IUU, which is IUU anyway, but it's furtivismo, a lot of many small other vessels and small scale fishers fishing out of the season, not reporting appropriately. So we are looking into how to incentivize this compliance and enforcement. Actually, SR chairs Antonio Álvarez from Grupo Profan and Mari Carmen Hernández from Angulas Aguinagas participated in a short video that we did together to send some messages about the need of fighting IUU and other social issues and traceability and transparency. So the feedback that I had from the coordinators of the FIP in Mexico was really good. So having someone from the industry, a specialized industry of octopus processing, sending these messages about encouraging them about getting involved in transparency efforts and FIP. So we will see how this can impact the future of the FIP. In any case, both FIPs are well rated. A for the Yucatan Octopus FIP hosted by Alianza por el Pulpo, and C for the Marativa FIP because it just has initiated first efforts. There has been some I wouldn't say disputes or fights, but there has been some controversial messages in Yucatan, and there is in the region in Mexico, and there is the reason why there are 2 FIPs going on, but each FIP fits the other with some activities that they are conducting. So we expect, or the will is trying to work to merge both FIPs, or at least having common work plans. There is also a small production of octopus in Mexico certified fair trade. So for those that would be interested, we can share more information about it. We presented that in Boston last year, so I can connect you with the leads of the FIP. So it's a portion, a share of the volume caught within this FIP, the Alianza por el Pulpo FIP. So if you are interested, we can connect you with them. Other efforts that we discussed at the beginning of the year was how to look into the octopus harvested in the south of the Iberian Peninsula, south of Spain and Portugal. In Portugal, there is a program, a project run in coordination with the University of Algarve and WWF to ensure co-management and to ensure that communities are secure their tenure rights and are well represented. And on the top of that, there is a management plan in both regions. The major issue is that there is not a stock assessment, a common stock, because at the end of the day, it's the same stock. Spain and Portugal is just the border, crossing the border. So the idea is we are in touch with MSc in the case of Spain, because there is a Medfish project that includes as well this area of south of Spain, and there are some local initiatives going on. So I'm in touch with MSc in Spain and the cooperative that is in charge to see how we can update a fisheries profile of where we could have some collaborations, or how we can also get information from these fisheries. And with the University of Algarve and Portugal, the same. We have the University of Algarve has commissioned the development of a fisheries profile. So we expect that soon in the coming months, or at least by the end of third quarter, both regions will be included, not in a FIP, probably because there is not going to be many interest maybe in a proper FIP, but in some initiatives and some improvement efforts and more volume that could be considered medium risk for you if this is an origin of interest of you. So this is the situation related to fisheries, Octopus vulgaris fisheries. Big octopus. I don't know if you have questions, comments, remarks, any of you that are involved in Morocco, Mauritania, or Spain that would like to say something. Nothing? Okay. I leave you to comment on during the Q&A session. And then we talk about this better transparency in fisheries management, how to conduct due diligence, human rights, and how to address these issues. No, so basically, what we would like to do as a reminder after this training. Now the focus is in Mauritania to see how we can conduct a human rights impact assessment. A human rights impact assessment that was explained during a webinar that Oxfam also hosted in April. So this is also available for you, for those that missed these webinars. What we would like to do is with an independent organization trying to identify what are the risks in these countries, given the situation of the countries, what are the salient risks related to human rights, and what are also the impacts happening. With the risks, we can and impacts identified, we can try to develop a roadmap, an action plan that would be parallel to the work plan of the FIP today. And this is what the FIP is also going to ask. The FIP has now, fishery progress is now requiring FIPs to do a social assessment and then addressing the risks and impacts identified in this social assessment. So this is only going to complement and is going to be a more exhaustive approach and a better approach, especially for all of you that are sourcing from Mauritania for your due diligence. So we had 3 proposals. One from Partners Africa is the proposals that I presented in February and in Boston. One from Oxfam, that is a recent one that was sent a couple of weeks ago, and one from the consultants that hosted the webinar, the trainings. Sorry. So I've requested the 3 proposals to have different views, and I've tried to summarize the pros and cons. I will share with the notes of the meeting the 3 proposals, okay? The full proposals, so you can have a look, we can decide, but identifying pros in green, basically for Partners Africa and Oxfam, we are going to be working with NGOs that will give a lot of robustness to this process and good visibility, because, well, at the end of the day, these NGOs are also working with industry and are also these kind of NGOs doing these public reports about the need of better involvement from the private sector. So obviously, there is going to be good international reputation and visibility with both of them. The problem is that the rates and the daily rates are very high, and the final cost of the assessment is really, really high, especially for a group of companies and than you and the current budget we have. The business and human rights consultants that many of you has met during these trainings, they have a lot of experience conducting human rights impact assessment in the field, not especially in seafood, but either Oxfam has a lot of examples of seafood value chains assessments. They have just developed their own methodology recently and adjusted to seafood. So they have a couple of examples, but the reality is that Partners Africa or Oxfam, there are no now big organizations specialized in seafood. They are just adapting to the reality of the seafood. So this is, I wouldn't say that this is the major cons for the business and human rights consultant. They have confirmed that they have teams that are able to speak French and networks that speaks Arabic. So they will be perfect to travel to the field. They are based in Spain. They speak Spanish and English. So this is also a good thing for this group. That is a mixed group made of Spanish companies and US companies. So I believe that, and the proposal is more flexible. Oxfam and Partners Africa have their own methodology. Is really well recognized, but they are going to ask to the SR to review your own procurement policies. They will dig a little bit in your procurement policies, and they will like to do a public report that will contain also weaknesses, deficiencies, and to raise awareness about what the companies are doing. So this can be, you can read the proposals and you will see explicitly what does it means. But the reality is that with any of them, we are going to have any control on the results because the results are what they are. But with business and human rights consultant, we may have more flexibility in terms of adding some comments or remarks. The results are not going to change. I want to be very clear that good or bad results or conclusions are going to be public anyway, because I believe that this is what we propose, what the SR can generate impact, and generating impact means publishing these issues and addressing these issues. But the reality is that we can be more flexible and request, for example, if we want to implement a follow-up work with them, how they can support us in the future is going to be different for Partners Africa and Oxfam. So, and obviously the budget is much more affordable. You can see the big difference, no, with the three budgets. So I believe, in my view, and considering the conversations that I had with many of you, the business and human rights proposal would fit quite well into this work. But again, I will share the 3 proposals, and we have time. I will leave this time, the next month, over July, to companies to provide some feedback. The 3 proposals would involve SR participants in surveys and may ask for Mauritanian supplier connections. Okay, so this work is carried based on a first desktop analysis and a review of the current situation of the value chains, exchanging with you, connecting with you, but then they are going to visit the field. And when they go to the field with the methodology they have, what they will do is making questions, no, and visiting the ports, visiting processing plants, factories, trying to also connect with government, with stakeholders. So as much information and as much connections and as better networks we are able to build with them, the better, because they will have a more realistic and a better sample, no, for the results. So we can also consider and discuss with them how to aggregate the information. For example, not all the SR participants today are sourcing from Mauritania. I'm aware of that. So, for example, the reality is conducting Mauritania this year, Morocco and Senegal in the coming years. So all of you can benefit somehow from this analysis because you will find many similar issues, no? What else? Yes, the final reports, I would like to make it public in the SR website. We can do an embargo for several months to prepare you all to do these communications. We would like also to be sure that these results and a social work plan is going to address major risks and remediate impacts in parallel to the FIP work plan. So this is something that I will include in the proposal for business and human rights that was not included in the other proposals, is how to connect really this work to the FIP to be sure that things are going to be taken in account. And yes, and the good news is that I'm working with the SFP development team to apply to a grant that would give us some funding as well, complementary funding to develop this work or to conduct other work in other fisheries. So I believe that these are good news. It's a funding that requires much funding, no, from many of you. But the reality is that with the expenses and the activities that has been already funded, like the MSC pre-assessment, some of the stakeholders meetings, my trips to Mauritania and Morocco, we could find some additional funding. I'm positive and optimistic about that. So, I mean, I don't know if you have any comment, any remark, something that you would like to say. Okay, I mean, it can be early to discuss that. I've not shared the proposals before because Oxfam just updated the proposal 3 days ago. And with business and human rights, I have a call right after the meeting today to discuss on some topics. That is why the final budget has not been confirmed. It could be even lower than 25,000, but I want to be sure that we include all the topics and then adjust. Okay. Then we had other fisheries where we are working more on the side because these fisheries are not of your major interest, but are important for the global trade and for the global market because there is a lot of mislabeling going on. There is a lot of mixing products. So we are just having an eye on Indonesia and Philippines. In Indonesia, we are developing a fisheries profile. This is not going to be funded by SFP, by SR funding. We have SFP funding, and for Philippines as well. We are trying to find additional funding or identify other stakeholders to be part of the SR. But the reality is that we keep an eye on this, as especially in US, there is a lot of mix of the products when they enter into the US market. I will keep you updated on how this evolves. For now, it's ongoing. The last months with all the events and this human rights due diligence training, there has been a really busy time. And then the pillar related to the SR, I believe that we are good. The majority of you have paid the invoices. We are expanding. I had initiated some conversations with Japanese buyers. Again, they keep really quiet. It would be really important to engage Italy. So now within SFP, we have a new person within the staff of markets in Europe that has been working for MSC Italy for a long time. So he's making good connections in Italy as well. So I believe that next year we could expect having some Italian companies working with us, or at least involved, or buyers trying to push as well for these improvement initiatives and trying to involve them and raise awareness in the Italian market. Otherwise, I believe that the website is going to be updated. We are trying to improve the transparency, the external communications. Boston and Barcelona were for us where we were able to connect with new buyers. And I'm traveling to the Singapore Seafood Expo in September. So if any of you are going to be there, or you have suppliers, buyers, or companies that must be attending, please just connect me with them if you want, as I'll be hosting a conference I've been invited to speak in a conference about IUU, more related to squid, but I'll be there as well for octopus. So I will send you a reminder with the information in case you are interested. And finally, I would like to jump into the accountability. So we are more or less the same that in June. We approved this support to the stakeholders meetings, 2 stakeholders meetings for Mauritania. Probably is going to be only 1, depending if there is a July meeting or an October meeting for this year. So probably this budget would be reduced. The fisheries profile of Morocco has been updated, but there are still some updates that can be done. So this 5,000 for the Morocco profile is just set aside. The same for Senegal. The prefab work, this UNDP project, the kickoff and the launch of this project does not depend entirely on SFP. SFP initiated is going to do part of the implementation, but it also depends on the country. So the green light has to be made by the country. So we still don't have the green light. We are in some doing some presentations. So if you remember, we put aside $5,000 from last year. Is going to keep aside for the rest of the year and also for next year if needed. If not, it will come back to the fund of the SR. And for the human rights impact assessment, we had only these quotations at the beginning of the year from Partners Africa. That was in pounds, and this is translated into US dollars. So I believe that once we will update on the final proposal, we could try to secure Mauritania and negotiate for Senegal and Morocco for the coming year. So I believe that we have a good accountability. We have still money for the rest of the year and for next year to conduct all these assessments and the work that we are willing to do. And with that, I will just open the mic for any of you that would like to say something or ask. Nothing?
Thanks, Carmen. That was just a lot.
Sorry, I
Some
was
time
very
to
fast.
digest.
Well, basically, to summarize, we keep going with Mauritania. I believe that by the end of the year, we will have a really good things to communicate to the public. You know that I'm always very caution. I take a lot of caution when publishing things and making good announcements. But I believe I'm now more confident about Mauritania and the work that is being doing. For Morocco and Senegal, we are in this process of trying to move forward. It's very hard. Mexico is in good way. We have the SR is doing some noise with the work plan we have. I've tried, and I always try to give visibility, for what we are doing. Not big credit, because we have not seen big impacts today. I mean, the Mauritania FIPIs is still implementing small actions, and there is not that big things maybe. But in terms of actions, I believe that we are in our way. So yes, keep with that. I don't know, those that participated in the human rights due diligence training, I asked that to the Squid SR participants, but any comment or any... So we will have support from them until the end of the year. We are working in a briefing note about this new due diligence directive that I know that for the US companies, maybe it's not very relevant, but they are going to include also where the US companies can be affected when sourcing from European importers, or when sourcing from European or connecting with European companies. So we will have this briefing probably by the end of July as well to be published. We are just with the editing. So yes, I know that many of you are already working on this, but nothing? Okay. Okay, so the meeting is recorded. I'm always available, as you know. I'll share all the information, the links and everything with all of you, the proposals, and I will keep you updated with the final proposal for business and human rights. Stacy, you are the voluntary person designated to respond to this question. You have been participated in the business and human rights training, and Ricardo, and also Antonio and Victor. I remember, and Raquel from a film, the majority of you. So would you feel confident with this team to develop the human rights impact assessment in Mauritania? Do you think that they could be a good choice? I don't know. How do you feel about the training they have delivered? It was a really exhaustive training, but...
It was very detailed as far as the steps to take, but not actually what to do in each one of those steps until you have like all of your sourcing lined up and all of the details of that. I would have to defer to others on this call who do direct sourcing from Mediterranean to be able to accomplish that goal. Because a lot of our product that comes in ends up saying product of Spain, because that's where it was processed, or that's where it's actually coming from. So
yeah, I believe that is going to be the same for Victor, but Raquel, sorry that I'm pointing you. But Raquel is sourcing. I'm just pointing Raquel because I know that Raquel and Ricardo probably as well, you have been buying from Morocco and Mauritania. So do you feel like this human rights impact assessment, that the results and this report could be like a good thing, like what Stacy said, on the top of what you know because of your relationship with the field, with the country, on the top of that, to conduct this due diligence? Do you think that this is something that could be, or Antonio maybe?
It's a good starting point.
Okay. Then obviously each company has the individual responsibility of conducting this work, but that's at least. Yeah.
This is Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Hi. Like Ricardo said, we need to start somewhere. And they're professionals. They know more about this working with other parts of the world than any of us. And he, on the last training, I mean, I forget the woman's name, but she even said, it's a slow start, but if we don't start, then it's going to bite us as an industry. It doesn't take many bad stories to get, questions from customers about, where is this coming from? How are the workers treated? And I'm already seeing it with a lot of our bigger accounts. It is becoming as important as the actual fishing sustainability, and rightfully so. I think we really need to engage these people.
Good. How do you think that your suppliers, especially here, Antonio, Ricardo, or Raquel, and sorry, I don't want to point you as I don't want to feel you uncomfortable, but how do you think that your suppliers will react to this sort of questions or surveys? Because at some point, I mean, you will be able to respond to this surveys, but then you will need to ask your supplier in Mauritania, listen, you have to participate, you have to respond, what is the status of the workers in your factory? What is the status of the workers in the pirogues? How are they hired? So how do you feel that they will respond to that?
I don't want to be very negative, but my point of view, it's going to be harder than for example, with squids. I think it's going to be hard, but well, it's a way we have to start.
Okay, thank you, Raquel.
I don't have feedback from Mauritania suppliers yet, but from other countries like China, we're already starting somewhat asking for this kind of questions, and within our supplier assessment. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit difficult, but well, like I said before, we have to start somewhere.
Great. Okay.
Now, in our case, sorry, I don't know what happened with the. Sorry, in our case in Profan, I'm sure they don't have any kind of problem, mainly with the main suppliers, no small suppliers. The main suppliers, they have to understand that this is necessary, it's a mandatory. I think I'm sure we didn't have problem. We don't have any problem. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great, Antonio, thank you. Well, I mean, many of you are supplying each other, many of you have the same suppliers.
Yeah, sure.
So having this message coming from a group is much more easy than, so it's much more easy having, I believe, the consultant asking questions because she's independent, or he's independent. I don't know who is going to be the consultant, but he's an independent person from and if she's asking questions on behalf of a big group of companies, they will acknowledge better than if it's only you asking individual questions, because this is something that they mention, the consultants mention. Sometimes your supplier can be bigger than you and can say, okay, I'm not going to supply you. I will find another customer who is not asking. But if it comes from a group, I believe that it has more sense. And this is one of the reasons I would like to make this human rights impact assessment public, because we need reactions also from the country, from the origin. So if this is public, they will understand that there is something in the public domain that can affect directly them, and they have to react. It's not only an individual company asking, or someone from, like Stacy from US that is asking, it's imported, that is asking, the processor that is asking. So like a long ask, a long chain, and someone asking.
Carmen, I think it's a great start. We do this where we ask our direct suppliers a lot of these questions and do a self-assessment. But the meat and potatoes of it, so to say, is that if they're telling the truth or if it's the right person answering the questions. And I think with having a consultant, they'll see right through some of the potential, like, I don't want to say lies, but, just not directly answering the question the way, or in the manner that is obvious that there's something going on or that there's nothing going on, like how to be that, like a consultant can be that layer of truth, or at least they have more experience in fleshing out the truth than we do.
Yes.
Like whether documents are forged or things like, I guess I'm thinking more of like in this squid arena than octopus. I don't know it as well, but
no, but they will see what are the major issues or what are the risks where you didn't believe that there were risks there, and maybe in another. I'm not an expert either, so I don't know. I can for all the times that I've traveled to Mauritania, I can imagine what are the major issues, but I'm not an expert to say. Maybe there are others that are not in front of our eyes, and it's hard to consider this. So,
Carmen, to expand on what Stacy just mentioned, we do a ton of audits for social and ethical. Company by the name of Smeta performs them, and they're literally in the plants. They're talking to the workers. They're asking, "Hey, did you do overtime? Did you know that there's a medical benefit for that?" And really checking how many hours did you work this week, et cetera, et cetera. So if we can, again, team up with one of these third-party people to do that, kind of stay in our lane. I'm not 100% an expert. I don't know who else on this call is, but I think that's definitely an idea that we should look into.
So it's not going to be like the consultants are not going to work individually with all of you to identify the problems in your own value chain. It's more about identifying the salient issues, the major issues and risks in the sector, in the value chain, in octopus value chain in Mauritania. This is called wide sector approach. So they will interview you, they will ask you to connect with other suppliers in Mauritania. But what they told me as well is that, okay, we don't need to ask hundreds of companies about the same things. We don't need a big samples because somehow the problems are repeated the same in countries, because there is also related with the social laws, the workers' laws that are available, regulations, directives. So they will be able to do that. If individually you want a specific due diligence done in your own value chains with your own suppliers, so this is something that you can also do with the consultant separately. But this is as a group, what are the major concerns in this sector, in the processing and in the fishing, by sectors as well, the artisanal, the industrial, and the semi-industrial. So where are these problems? And then based on that, what are the asks and the questions you must do to your suppliers, and verify if they are telling you what you should ask more in depth or what you shouldn't ask. So this is more or less why the results are going to be public. I couldn't publish information about your individual supply chain, but I can publish in an aggregated manner what are the major risks identified in the country, And we can go to the FIP stakeholders and go to the FIP coordinators and saying, listen, we have identified that automatically all the fishers hiring pirogues has not, good contracts, or contracts that, or they have debts associated to the contracts, or they have. So if there are systematical problems in the value chain, in the octopus sector, we can address those through the FIP and through a common work plan. If there are specific issues in your supply chains, individual supply chains with your suppliers, this is something that you must address. But based on this collective common knowledge that we will raise and that we will identify. But anyway, we will have the consultants supporting the SRs, the squid and octopus until the end of the year as well to identify what are collective approaches in addition to the human rights impact assessment. And if individually, for any reason, you want to connect with them, obviously you have their contact, but you can connect also with them. And with that, if there are not other questions, I will try to keep you updated in the coming months. And yeah, I will inform you if finally the meeting is hosted in Mauritania end of July or in September for any of you. But well, when there is a meeting, I will inform you, and when the FIP is finally active in fishery progress. So well, I'll try to do an update end of July with all of this, and I will send an email with the notes and the recording of this meeting next week.
Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you all for your time and your support.
Thank you.
And yes, good
Thank you, Carmen.
good holiday for those that are in the US. See you.
Thank you.